Hello everyone, I am Grand Ryūen. Welcome to new video, Light Novel Volume 4, Summary. Chapter 2, Kiyotaka and Suzune meet at a cafe on the deck in the morning. Suzune hands him a slip of paper that reads the names of the members in her group, Dragon. Class A, Kohei Katsuragi, Ryoko Nishikawa, Shinji Matoba, Koharu Yano. Class B, Seo Ando, Ryuji Kanzaki, Hitomi Tsub. Class C, Takumi Oda, Hidate Hoshi Suzuki, Masashi Sonoda, Kakeru Ryūen. Class D, Kikyo Kushida, Yosuke Hirata, Suzune Horikita. Kiyotaka notes that the group includes the big names representing each class, but Ichino's is in his group instead of this one. Suzune thinks Ichino's can be just the face of her class and not the leader. They think about the groups being divided based on grades, but there are also flaws in it. At 8 a.m., both Kiyotaka and Suzune receive mail from the school. They have not been chosen as the VIP in their group. The exam will begin from 1 p.m. and will be held in 3 days. They are also required to come to the meeting room of their groups immediately. After discussing the mail's contents, Suzune asks Kiyotaka on who he suspects the most in her group. Kiyotaka replies with Ryūen, as he is the most suspicious one in the group. Ryūen and Ibuki approach them while they are talking. Ryūen asks if Suzune is the VIP, with Suzune refusing to answer and says Ryūen would do the same. Ryūen then sits down on a vacant seat nearby and asks Suzune on how Class D achieved the result in the island test. Suzune says she has nothing to tell him. She also provokes that she was just saving her strength due to a fever, prompting Ibuki to declare a rematch but stops after Suzune says she will report to the school if there's violence. Ryūen points out that Class D's leader in the island test was changed and that they were the one pulling the strings, but Suzune only replies vaguely. Suzune wonders why Ryūen is obsessed over her as there are other students he should be worried about like Ichino's from Class B, Katsuragi and the rumored Sakayanagi from Class A. Ryūen replies that he has more or less known about their abilities and they're not capable enough to be his enemies, so he could crush any of them whenever he wants. He then stands up and leaves, along with Ibuki. Kiyotaka meets Yukimura and Sotomura and they start going to their group's meeting room. The exam is announced to be starting but no one in the room is willing to speak up. Ichino's takes the initiative by leading the group and introducing herself. After the self-introductions are done, Ichino suggests the group to cooperate and clear the exam through the first outcome. Other students, including Kiyotaka, agree but Machida from Class A rejects the offer and instead proposes a strategy Katsuragi has come up with, to not talk at all until the exam is finished so that there won't be a traitor among the group and allow the points to be equally distributed among the classes. Ichino's argues the strategy is benefiting Class A the most since it would cause the position of the classes to be unchanged and help them keep the lead. Machida eventually says that he and his classmates will continue staying silent and not take part in the group discussions. Manabe from Class C calls out to Karuizawa, asking about her encounter with Rika Morofuji, another Class C student. Manabe claims that Karuizawa has pushed Rika out of the line at a cafe, then asks Karuizawa to go and apologize to Rika. Karuizawa denies and claims she doesn't know anything, but retorts when Manabe tries to take a picture of her to confirm with Rika. As Manabe becomes more suspicious, Karuizawa turns to Machida for help, who tells Manabe to stop forcibly taking photos of Karuizawa and that it would be better to talk with Rika to confirm the story. Manabe eventually withdraws while Kiyotaka notes that the conflict can be a problem going forward. 1 hour passes and the students are allowed to leave, with the Class A students going first. Karuizawa, while hastily trying to leave, accidentally steps on Manabe's feet. Manabe gets angry while Karuizawa makes a quick apology and leaves. After leaving the room, Kiyotaka asks Yukimura if he notices Karuizawa was acting strange. He then receives a message from Eri asking to meet him if he has time. Eri asks him to meet at the ship's bow as the place she is at is getting crowded. Eri is seemingly practicing on asking Kiyotaka out and gets startled when Kiyotaka calls her when he arrives. Eri, already flustered, frantically asks Kiyotaka if he's been hearing, and relieves when he doesn't know what it is about. Eri then tells him that she's been anxious about the exam and gives him the list of students in her group, Kao. Class A, Yasumi Sawada, Naoki Shimizu, Haruka Nishi, Kenta Yoshida. Class B, Yum Kobashi, Yui Ninomiya, Norihito Watanabe. Class C, Hiroya Takito, Yuji Nomura, Mariko Yajima. Class D, Kanji Ike, Eri Sakura, Ken Sudo, Chiaki Matsushita. Kiyotaka apologizes as he can't seem to help her, then asks whether Haruki Yamauchi has contacted her since after their group meeting period. Kiyotaka has promised to give Yamauchi her address in order to manipulate him back in the island test, though he doesn't intend to give it without her consent. Eri says Yamauchi hasn't and asks if there's something wrong. Kiyotaka then tells her to contact him if she has trouble with something. Eri appreciates his offer while Kiyotaka just says that's the least he can do for her. Kiyotaka then encounters Yamauchi, who is angered that he hasn't got Eri's address. Kiyotaka convinces Yamauchi to do his best in this exam so he can get a chance to be close to her. In the second group meeting, Class A students still don't want to participate in the discussion. Ichinos once again takes the initiative as their meeting time is limited. Yukimura agrees that it is necessary to find out the VIP student, but Karuizawa doubts whether they can find out by just talking. Machida says the VIP would keep themselves hidden so they can gain points and that it could even be someone from Class B. Ichinos thinks the same could be said for him, but Machida tells her that Class A students wouldn't be interested in the point reward as they have 100,000 points allocated to them monthly. Kiyotaka focuses on Karuizawa, who is fiddling with her phone, and realizes that she has been acting differently than usual. After 1 hour has passed, Class A students immediately leave the room. Ichinos calls out and asks Kiyotaka about his thoughts on the exam as he hasn't given his opinions, with Kiyotaka replying he's just the type to sit back and relax in an exam like this. He has been observing Ichinos but cannot ascertain her real aims yet. Kiyotaka then chases after Manabe and her friends in Class C. He calls out to them when they reach the elevator and mentions Karuizawa. This grabs their attention and Kiyotaka lies that he saw Karuizawa pushed over their friend at the cafe and wants to give them a heads up. Kiyotaka gets back to his room near midnight and wants to go to sleep but notices Hirata and Yukimura. Kiyotaka wants to ask Hirata about Class A's Sakayanaji but decides to let him talk first, while Koenji is doing push-ups and isn't interested in their discussion. Hirata tells Kiyotaka and Yukimura that 2 of their classmates have been assigned as the VIP. Kiyotaka tells him to show their identity through his phone to be safe. The VIP students are Kushida in Dragon Group and Minami in Horse Group. Yukimura thinks there can be another VIP student from Class D in the Rabbit Group, with Hirata agrees and thinks they may have consulted someone else instead of him. Meanwhile, Koenji starts humming from across the room, making Yukimura lose his patience and start arguing with him. Yukimura tells him not to drop out of the exam suddenly like in the island test. Koenji thinks it is troublesome that the exam continues for 2 more days, while Yukimura accuses him of not taking this exam seriously. Koenji says the exam is just a simple quiz to find the liar, then takes out his phone and fiddles with it. Suddenly, the others' phones ring as they receive a mail from the school. Koenji Group, Monkey's test has ended. Koenji simply says he now has his freedom back and throw away his cell phone before disappearing into the bathroom, leaving Hirata, Yukimura and Kiyotaka in shock. Kiyotaka notes that Koenji is extremely perceptive and has remarkable observing ability, so he may excel at this exam if it simply just find the liar. Hirata's phone is flooded with messages from the students who are surprised by the news. Yukimura is irritated with Koenji's actions, while Kiyotaka quietly leaves the room. Kiyotaka goes to the ship's deck and notices a girl standing alone. He approaches her and realizes it's Kushida, who is surprised to see him. Kushida says she can't sleep and is happy that they're both alone there. Kiyotaka feels his heart rate increasing by being alone with Kushida in a place full of couples and tells her he is leaving. However, as he starts walking away, Kushida screams at him to wait and jumps into his chest. Kiyotaka becomes panicked and asks Kushida on her sudden action. She whispers that she feels lonely by herself and keeps burying her face in his chest for a few more seconds. Then she releases him, apologizes and runs away. Kiyotaka feels he won't be able to sleep more and cannot return to his room like this, so he decides to walk around the ship for a while. Kiyotaka heads for the vending machines on the first floor as he feels thirsty. When getting there, he finds Chabashira, Mishima and Hashinomiya, Class B's homeroom teacher. The three teachers are relaxing on the sofa and Kiyotaka quietly approaches them while hiding himself as a chance to get information. It is customary to place the class representatives to the dragon group. Hashinomiya determined that Ichino's needs a challenge, so she is placed in the rabbit group instead. Chabashira tells Hashinomiya not to base her judgment on personal grudges. Hashinomiya wonders if Chabashira is talking about what happened 10 years ago and replies that she genuinely thought Ichino's needs to learn a lesson. Hashinomiya also notices Chabashira has been focusing on Kiyotaka. Mishima tells her not to spy on other colleagues' classes, while Hashinomiya continues that another student from Class C should have been placed in the dragon group instead of Ryūen. Kiyotaka decides to go back to avoid further trouble, as he already knows Ichino's has been sent to spy on him and that he seems to be under heavy scrutiny. If you like this video, please like, subscribe and share. For more, thanks you all, meet you in another video.